New developments on your early news. A former Houghton County attorney accused of murdering a man in a bar bathroom will undergo multiple exams to determine if he is fit to proceed in court. Evan Dixon appeared via Zoom for a hearing today. He is accused of fatally shooting 53-year-old Theron Duncan in the Douglas House Saloon bathroom on November 13th. Gogebic County District Court Judge Anna Talaska oversaw the case in place of Houghton County District Court Judge Nicholas Davatia. There was a conflict of interest as Dixon had legally represented clients in that judge's court before. After referring Dixon for both a competency exam and a criminal responsibility evaluation, Judge Talaska explains how this will affect Dixon's case moving forward.
I do grant the request to the defense for both of those evaluations. Given that request, the preliminary examination, which was originally scheduled for today, will be adjourned into the future until we determine whether Mr. Dixon is competent to stand trial.
The prosecution had no objection to the evaluations. A contingent preliminary exam is scheduled 75 days out.